Right then. So, the ASUD features of the tactical intellect. So this is, understanding this comes from Kersey, and I think you get a richer understanding. The Kersey intellects are very good, and it's about as close as it gets to functions. So, first part of the tactical intellect is the ability to adjust, and this is going to be related to situational awareness. So, what else have I put here about? I've put. I'm gonna have to sort of do these bits off so I don't repeat myself. The sort of the in-game adjustments, and this feature of being able to adjust is related to the second feature of the tactical intellect. And these features come from me rather than from Kersey, although they're inspired by Kersey. And the second feature of the tactical intellect is speed. Now, what I mean by speed in this context is the ability to act more quickly than the opposition can react. And in sport, you see how speed is a massive advantage. I mean, just look at the NFL, where the players will frequently talk about the difference between college football and the NFL is just the speed of the game. That, for example, a running back will say the gaps are there, but they're there for shorter amounts of time. So, have I got anything else on speed? Right, and then the other feature I have of the tactical intellect, and so this is also going to be a feature of Artisans, is unpredictability. And I remember that Tyson Fury, the collaborator artisan boxer, ESFP, the extrovert to sensation type with auxiliary feeling or subsidiary feeling, that Jeff said he loved it when a co-worker told him, "I never know what you're going to say next." Yeah, he loved that. So yeah, there's part of the artisans that hate being predictable. And so related to this is, although part of that is related to the next one, but let's go with put it in this section. Tyson Fury talking about fighting Vladimir Klitschko, and he had total contempt for the way he boxed as a sort of a jab and grab merchant. And he said, and he called him a robot, and he says the best way to fight these robots is to be unpredictable. And again, no, because then you're forcing the opponent to react. And if you're faster than the opponent, so, and part of this is related to the following sort of beliefs of, the following belief of don't show your hand. Don't show your hand. Whereas the idealists, which Kersey has as the opposite temperament from the artisans, because the artisans are concrete utilitarians, so concrete speech going towards actual concrete things and actions, and utilitarians being think for themselves, not by the book, not cooperative, whereas the idealists are framed as abstract cooperators. So abstract in speech and thus in thought, that's the assumption, reasonable assumption, unless you're going to assume that all of these idealists are leading a double life where their speech is abstract but they think concretely. Why would that be the case when they want to be authentic? um, and cooperative. Not cooperative in the way guardians are, which go towards compliance with what has worked, and also to reduce risk, because it's like, I did it by the book. I did nothing wrong. I followed procedure. And if you're trying to get rid of me, and I'll contact my lawyer. I have done nothing wrong. Unfair dismissal. Idealists are cooperative in a different way. There is a tendency towards collectivism and more towards consensus, and they want people to get with the program. Right. So there is that sort of utopian aspect of the idealist, that everyone to sort of work together. But then it usually gets towards, then how do we make everyone work together? Whereas artisans are not about being forced to cooperate. So what have we got here? Yes, and then the other aspect of the tactical intellect, the fourth one, deception. Now, people say it wasn't a deception. Oh, it was a bluff. SDI, Strategic Defense Initiative, nicknamed Star Wars. Artisan, collaborator, artisan, Ronald Reagan. The SDI initiative was to bankrupt the Soviet Union. They thought it was real. And in negotiations, the Soviets were like, you got to stop this SDI thing, because the part of the bluff of SDI, and I remember seeing a documentary on it where they would rig the tests to make it look like these cosmic weapons. Because if you're going to say space, say outer space, would actually shoot down ICBMs. And that was to bluff the Soviet Union into spending money to counter SDI. So that was another part of the bluff, is again the bluffing it and blagging it. And there was a bit earlier in one of the early seasons, maybe season 1 of Young Sheldon, when the parents find out that Sheldon's been lying, and Judge Sin is like, how about that? And Mary tells him, oh, hey, don't be proud of him. But and I saw that as, that is the artisan temperament. George Senior is proud of Sheldon for lying. It's, oh, good on him. It's that part of that tactical intellect. Now, the opposite extreme of this, the opposite version of the tactical intellect would be, and it's sort of like at its worst and best, you can sort of see it with, I mean, at its worst, I mean, what I mean by that is not in terms of ineffective, but if we say high side, low side, ESTP, where tactical genius, high side, low side, the con artist, and how the ESTP would see INFP. So if the INFP is telling you, if the ESTP was to get intelligence on a certain INFP, and it was, okay, this is what this INFP believes, and it always sticks to what it believes. And the ESTP would see the INFP as guileless and not being sort of locked into certain beliefs. The INFP would see it as being authentic and having integrity and being trustworthy. So that is a big part with the art. So to be unpredictable, then you can't be prepared for. And also the STPs have the ability to act quicker. And Kersey talks about this in Personology. So he has a small group called the Proactive Enterprises, but they are the Adaptive Enterprises. That's it. You have it on the back of this book. Yeah, the adaptive enterprises. And those are the utilitarians. Those are the directive utilitarians. So NTJs and STPs. And so how do you tell the difference between, okay, so something like this. How do you tell the difference between an INTJ and a really smart ISTP? Well, you got to look for tactical versus strategic. So an example of a really smart ISTP. Well, Amanda convinced me Wittgenstein ISTP, but in this instance, as an example of a really smart ISTP, John Grinder, the linguist, has the hots for NI, always talking about the unconscious and that lot. Loves his hypnosis. And so you have to compare. The ISTP is going to be tactical. The INTJ is going to be strategic. And so both cases, you've got contenders. You've got the contender artisan and the contender rational. And so the INTJ being super strategic with a predisposition towards contingency planning. And so in comparing the two, ISTP will be able to act more quickly. But the downside will be all of the actions will not have been thought through for the consequences, but there are going to be some situations where, again, it's that speed. The ability to act faster than the opposition can react. And so Kersey gave the example of the STP boss that can come in and clear out staff and get rid of staff before they've had time to mobilize. So again, speed, acting quicker than the opposition can react. And it coming out of nowhere, being unpredictable, not showing your hand. Right. So the artisan would see someone who is totally honest as this person is guileless. And there's also a thing called ingenuous, where it's like, which is the opposite of disingenuous. Because ingenuous is related to the ingenue, the person that's very sort of naive. Oh, yeah. And so artisans sort of priding themselves on, first of all, they do not want to be conned. Artisans, they do not want to be duped. They pride themselves on not being naive, right? Having that sort of sense of realism and having the a cynical attitude towards human nature, in that they can believe that people are in it for themselves. Yeah. And so you can see there how the mindset is different from the idealist. Now, this understanding from Kersey is very useful when you're looking for, say, looking to differentiate between, say, an Enneagram 4 fixated ISFP, such as Prince, and, say, an INFP, looking for the difference. And I don't know about David Bowie, ISFP4, INFP4, difficult to say. But yeah. So ISFPs can have some idealist traits every now and then because of the FI. And yes, especially if there's a 4, they might want to present that image. So for instance, Bob Dylan's been typed as an NF. Right, so those are my thoughts on the tactical intellect and Kersey like saying it how it is, tactical manipulating. There we go. Now then, bonus. What's this on my wall? Well, without wanting to get it too sharp. So this is a table of locations. And so there's a table of locations in the house. And so these would be, so these dots here, these squares here are the lounge. scenes, and these are the kitchen scenes. And so you can look across, and say, okay, these are the scenes. So when you record it, you say, okay, we're in this block where we're recording all of the lounge scenes. So that scene, that scene, that scene, that scene, that scene. And then going vertically, it's the scenes that are outside those interiors within the house. So here, these are a lot of car scenes here, and that's in violet because I use that for rationals. Because you've got Wilma's car and Dot's car, and then in yellow is when it's an external location. So there you've got bus stop, you've got duck pond there. Yeah. And in here, these are the character appearances for episode 5. And it's color coded with temperament because it's, okay, the green, the room of an idealist. Then here, these are, again, the car of a rational. Again, they've got the bus stop one there. And then these are the scenes that these characters appear in. And you can see here from the main cast that Wilma is in these scenes. And then we have Tamsin, and then, Rena's not in that episode, and neither is these characters here. Right, these are the guest characters that are in. Now, sometimes I sort of do that, and I thought, this is a bit procrastinatory doing this, but it will help people. Yeah. Logistics. So the role and what the role demands. Thinking about the logistics of making a dramedy on a zero budget and goodwill.